Hello, I'm Cody the Coin Raptor, and in today's video, we're going to talk about the #1 performing asset year to date so far. Hint, hint, it's Bitcoin. And we're also going to go ahead and talk about the consumer price index and the effects that we're going to see with that on the crypto industry, as well as what's going to be going on with the Fed and my predictions for the next FOMC meeting. And then we're also going to go ahead and cover what Bitcoin's been doing, the price action, the supports, and the resistance levels. And then we're going to be talking about the final thing, which is a potential Bitcoin upgrade. But before we get to that, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit that like button, and be sure to follow me on X as well. I definitely appreciate you guys and all the love that you've been showing me. We're at 261 subscribers, and I'm trying to aim for about 300 or so within the next couple of months. So that's the goal here. So let's go ahead and get started. Bitcoin has been down about 2.4% in the last week. Okay. However, that being said, as I've talked about in previous videos, Bitcoin's actually been doing fairly well compared to the indexes. In fact, something that was recently pointed out by Gregoire Dupont is he compared the assets year to date, and you can see there at the top, Bitcoin 62% year to date is up. Okay. And it's up by a lot compared to all the other assets that he's listed here as well. So the next closest asset is going to be the NASDAQ 100, and then after that's going to be technology, the technology sector. Now, nothing else comes close to Bitcoin, and it's really important to kind of underscore the long-term future of Bitcoin and the long-term price action. I always like to take that and put this more into perspective, okay? Because people get really caught up in what's going on in the next month, the next week, the next couple of days, when it's important to step back and look at it through the long run. In fact, Michael Saylor's been posting this chart several times. If you follow his X account, you've probably seen it quite a few times. But the reason why he posts this chart, he posts it basically showing Bitcoin's returns versus other assets since 2020. The reason why he's posting this is also to show that Bitcoin is actually an effective tool to fight against inflation. Now, a lot of people are looking at the Bitcoin price action from the last year or two, and they're saying, okay, well, how is this supposed to be a inflationary hedge? Well, you have to look at it through the long term, 3, 4, 5, maybe even 10 years, the long run, instead of just looking at the past couple of years, because we're still kind of in a kangaroo market, sort of bear market, sort of bull market, and right now Bitcoin's being held down artificially by the Fed, and we'll get to that here in a minute, why I think that's something that may change in the near term. So let's talk about Bitcoin and the price action. So Bitcoin, we've seen 5 straight days of selling pressure on Bitcoin. You can see here we've had 5 red days in a row. So the price has gone up here from 28K all the way down to about 26,700. We found support here at about 26,500, and we've bounced off of that support level. Now, what's important to note about this is we're kind of testing the uptrend currently with Bitcoin in the near term. So we can go ahead and kind of, we can draw out very roughly the uptrend going on right now with Bitcoin. We can see here that it's very close. It's not going to be very clean. But the point here is that we do have an uptrend for Bitcoin since the collapse we had back in September. And we can actually see that even more clearly in our RSI right here. And we've looked at the RSI, which measures the strength of buying or selling in Bitcoin. And we've seen that this RSI on the daily is very close to support at about 44. We'll see if it can actually push under this level, and if it does, then the local uptrend will be basically nullified, and then we'll go back to more of a bearish downtrend, and we could potentially even see it come back down to 26K, and then maybe even a little bit lower than that. But I'm not going to go past that point. Let's kind of focus more on what's going on here at this support. If this support gets taken out, then we can go down to 26K. However, if this support holds here, this 26,500 support holds, then we can go back and revisit resistance here, now at 27.2, and then eventually up here at 28. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to resistance. But that's what's going on right now with the Bitcoin price and the supports and the resistances. And if we go ahead and take a look at our futures listing here, we can see based on our futures contracts, we have quite some interesting data to go over. And I want to draw your attention here to the funding rates. And the funding rates gives us an idea of the strength of bulls and strength of bears, strength of longs versus strength of shorts. Now, when this goes green, we see that there is a premium being paid to shorts for longs to maintain their position. So what we've seen in the past couple of days is a funding premium that has hit a bullish level not seen since the August dump. Okay, so we had this very bullish level here until we hit that August dump. Then we had massive liquidations, and then after that, it's been kind of all the liquidity basically got sucked out of Bitcoin, and now we're starting to see some of that bullish sentiment return, at least from the funding side here, and we're starting to see a larger premium paid to shorts for longs to hold their position, okay? But the only thing we haven't seen so far is a return to the normal open interest, the normal number of open contracts. Right now, it's at an uptrend, but it's still very low. And on top of that, if we zoom out, again, this is the daily, we can see that it's actually fairly low compared to where it has been historically. Up here during the bull market, we've seen it just kind of go down and go down and go down. So a lot of the liquidity has been sucked out of the system currently. But that being said, in the short term, we are seeing a little bit more bullish momentum in the futures markets. And the reason why I like to talk about this is because the future markets give us an idea of what the sentiment of traders are right now. Traders are actually betting bullish on these last couple of bearish-looking days, and they seem to be betting on a reversal of fortune, a reversal of trend, and for us to push higher. And I want to go ahead and also talk about the liquidity heat map as well, because I'd be remiss if we didn't mention this. We talk about this on the way up, but we need to talk about it on the way down as well. We're going to zoom in here and actually go into the 24-hour. And we can see here that there are significant liquidity right below where Bitcoin is right now at about 26,500. So this kind of underscores how incredibly important this support level is to hold right now. If the support level gets taken out, we're going to see huge long liquidations below this level, and we could actually see it come back down to 26K, maybe even down back to 25. So the longs really need to hold this level. If they don't hold this level, we could actually see Bitcoin go down a little bit more. But again, this is all short-term price action, okay? It's very short-term price action. Now let's talk about something that I think is very bullish for Bitcoin, and that is the possibility that Bitcoin could actually get smart contracts, okay? So there's this new Bit VM or Bit Virtual Machine plan going around on X, and it seems to be designed in a way that would allow for smart contracts to be worked into the Bitcoin blockchain. They would be validated as part of the Bitcoin validation, the normal Bitcoin validation cycle, and you'd be able to introduce smart contracts to the blockchain. Now, this is incredibly important, okay? And this is one of the strongest bullish cases you can make for Bitcoin, and that is the fact that Bitcoin is an ever-changing beast. We've talked multiple times about the increasing use cases for Bitcoin, the Lightning Network, and the ability for Bitcoin to have additional tokens that are based off of it. But now, and Bitcoin NFTs, of course, but now we're also starting to talk about smart contract functionality, and that is something Bitcoin has absolutely been lacking, and the reason why Ethereum has taken off as the number 2 largest cryptocurrency by market cap. And that's the fact that Bitcoin simply doesn't have a virtual machine capable of smart contracts, okay? And the reason why that's important is because now you open up a whole new level of things like decentralized finance and gaming applications that you can put on the Bitcoin blockchain. And this would be very bullish indeed if we actually do wind up seeing this come to light, okay? Now, this is still in a prototype phase. We're still kind of figuring out the bugs on it so far, and it seems like, we haven't seen anything so far. But they're saying right now specifically that it enables functionality that we thought we might need a soft fork for. So it seems like now it's not going to require a soft fork. Okay, so that would also be good news. Next, I want to go ahead and talk about what happened today. So we have the Consumer Price Index. The Consumer Price Index was released today. It actually came in line with expectations at about 3.7% year over year. This is largely driven higher by the shelter numbers. Shelter numbers were very high for this month. Now, that being said, it's important to realize the fact that just because it's not going down doesn't mean that the interest rates and the Fed's hiking cycle hasn't been working. Okay. Now remember, these are rearward facing indicators. Okay. When they look at this data, they look at CPI. This is old data. Okay. And if you look at something that's a little bit more recent, such as if you take a look at Trueflation, for instance, Trueflation has shown that we've been on a steady downtrend for inflation. Okay. And the reason why this is important is because Bitcoin needs lower interest rates. Okay. The Fed is raising interest rates to bring down inflation. When the Fed looks at things like CPI, and CPI is not going down, right? But it's not going up either. They may decide to pause instead of raise the next meeting. And I do believe that they are not going to raise in the next meeting. And it's not just me saying this. If you look at the CME Group FedWatch tool, we can see here that there's an 86% chance, according to them, that the Fed keeps rates where they are. All right. And this would be very bullish for Bitcoin if the Fed decides to pause and stops dangling higher for longer in front of us. That would be the bullish case scenario for Bitcoin, because now Bitcoin doesn't have that force that's compressing it and pushing it lower and keeping it artificially low. We don't have the dollar. The dollar would stop being as strong as it is right now, and we might actually see it retreat as well. Now, it's not just me saying this, but some of the Federal Reserve chairmen themselves and the officials have suggested that because bond yields are up, that means that they don't necessarily need to increase interest rates again. All right. So, and if that's true, and if that's the case, Bitcoin is going to absolutely explode. Okay. Bitcoin is a beneficiary. When the Fed decides to pause and stop hiking, Bitcoin's a beneficiary. And then when the Fed decides to start cutting rates, which they will, I think it's going to happen from the looks of things next year, Bitcoin's a major beneficiary. Okay, because we've seen so far with this year, if we zoom out here, we take a look at Bitcoin as a whole, and we overlay this with the Fed funds rate. Okay, so we overlay this, we can see how incredibly clear it is. The Fed funds rate impacts Bitcoin. It's one of the largest impacts to Bitcoin that I've seen of anything. Right, the correlation here is so tight. Look at this. When the Fed funds rate goes up, Bitcoin goes down. When the Fed funds rate goes down, Bitcoin goes up. Okay, and we can see here that as soon as they start tightening, Bitcoin immediately goes down. All right, and higher and higher and higher. Now all we have to do is see this level out, and then eventually start coming back down again, and then Bitcoin will respond by moving up. And on top of that, we could potentially even see a retest of the all-time high. Okay? Just a guess. Do your own research. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial information or financial advice. Okay? All this is education and some speculation and some entertainment by myself. All right. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know what you guys think the Fed is going to do during the next FOMC. If you're excited for Bitcoin virtual machine or Bitcoin smart contracts, leave a comment below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.